The alarm bells rang across the command center. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at the main screen. Something had appeared in space where nothing should be. The officers stared at the display with wide eyes and open mouths. This was not supposed to happen. Commander Susan Blake sat in her chair on the bridge of the human warship called Defiance. She looked calm, but her heart was beating fast. This was the moment they had planned for months. This was the moment when humans would announce themselves to the galaxy. The ship was quiet. Everyone knew their jobs. They had practiced this mission many times. Susan looked around at her crew. These were good people. Brave people. They were far from home, doing something that had never been done before. Lieutenant Karen Harris spoke first. She was young but very good at her job. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel in front of her. She checked the numbers on her screen twice before speaking. We are holding our position exactly where we planned. I count 40 alien ships around us. They are all pointing their weapons at us. They are trying to scan our ship, but our special coding is working. They can see us, but they cannot read our systems. Susan nodded slowly. This was good news. The special coding on the Defiance was human technology. The aliens had never seen it before. It would keep the ship safe, at least for now. What kind of ships are out there, Jake? Susan asked. She looked at the tactical officer. His name was Jake Morrison, and he had been in the military for 20 years. He knew weapons and ships better than anyone else on board. Jake studied his screen for a moment. We are looking at 42 ships now. More are coming. I see cruisers, frigates, and 6 very large ships that must be their main warships. They are using standard attack formations. Nothing unusual. Their weapons are charged, but they have not fired yet. I think they want to know what we are before they shoot. Good, Susan said. Let them wonder. Sophie, open a communication channel to all of them. Every ship, every station, everyone who is listening. It is time to say hello. Sophie Chen was the communications officer. She was smart and spoke 5 different Earth languages. Now she would help humans speak to aliens for the first time. She pressed some buttons on her panel and looked at Susan. Channel is open. They can all hear you now. Susan took a deep breath. She thought about Earth so far away. She thought about all the people back home who were counting on her. She thought about what this moment meant for humanity. Then she spoke clearly and firmly. This is Commander Susan Blake of the United Nations Starship Defiance. I represent the human race from planet Earth. We have been watching you for some time. We know about your Galactic Council. We know about your rules and your territory. We come in peace, but we are not asking for permission to be here. We are announcing our presence. We want to talk with your leaders about opening relations between our people and yours. The silence that followed felt very long. Susan knew that the aliens were surprised. They thought humans were still primitive. They thought humans could not travel between stars. They were wrong about both things. Commander, we are getting a reply, Sophie said. Her voice had a little excitement in it. Audio only. The computer is translating it now. A deep voice came through the speakers. The computer changed the alien language into English. Unknown ship, you have entered our space without authorization. This is against our laws. Turn off your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you do not obey, we will destroy your ship. Susan looked at Jake and Karen. They both looked back at her. They were ready for this. They knew the aliens would try to act tough. But Susan also knew that the aliens were scared. A ship had appeared in their space using technology they did not understand. That made them nervous. Negative, Susan replied. Her voice was harder now, more firm. We have not broken any law. We are a free species with the right to explore space. We will not turn off our weapons. We will not allow you to board our ship. However, we will meet with your diplomatic representatives. Those are our terms. Take them or leave them. Another silence. This one was even longer. Susan watched the tactical display as more alien ships moved into position around the Defiance. They were trying to surround her ship. They wanted to trap it. But they did not know that 3 more human warships were hiding nearby, invisible to alien sensors, ready to help if needed. The alien voice came back. This time it sounded different. Less angry, more careful. Commander Blake, you will stay where you are. Do not move your ship. Do not charge your weapons. We are sending a shuttle with diplomats to your location. If you make any hostile moves, all of our ships will fire on you. Do you understand? Susan allowed herself a small smile. They had agreed to talk. That was what she wanted. I understand. We will wait for your shuttle. But let me be clear. If you fire on us, you will regret it. We may be new to you, but we are not weak. Defiance out. She closed the channel and looked at her crew. Everyone was tense but focused. They knew the dangerous part was not over yet. Jake, keep all weapons ready but do not lock onto any targets. Sophie, listen to everything they say on all channels. I want to know if they are planning something. Karen, be ready to move fast. If things go bad, we jump out of here immediately. Yes, Commander, they all said together. Susan stood up and walked to the large window at the front of the bridge. She looked out at the stars and at the shapes of alien warships in the distance. Somewhere out there, 40 light years away, was Earth. Home. The place where 8 billion people lived their lives. Not knowing that today everything had changed. Humans had fought so hard to get here. They had survived wars and diseases. They had built cities and countries and finally learned to work together. They had reached for the stars and found that they were not alone in the universe. Other intelligent beings lived out here with their own ships and weapons and empires. But Susan knew one thing for certain. Humans would not bow down to these aliens. Humans would not be treated like children or primitives. Humans had come too far and sacrificed too much to be pushed around now. The galaxy was about to learn something important. Humans were here. Humans were strong. And humans were not going away. Susan turned back to face her crew. She saw determination in their eyes. She saw courage. These people had volunteered for this mission knowing they might never come home. They had done it because they believed in something bigger than themselves. Commander, Karen said, breaking the silence, the alien shuttle is launching from their flagship. Estimated arrival time is 20 minutes. Good, Susan replied. Prepare the docking bay, full security detail. I want 10 armed Marines waiting when they arrive. Make it clear we are ready for anything. The next 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. The crew worked quietly, checking systems and preparing for the meeting. Susan reviewed everything she knew about the Galactic Council. They were powerful. They controlled hundreds of star systems. They had rules about how new species were allowed to join them. But humans had not asked to join. Not yet. First, they needed to be recognized as equals. First, they needed to show strength. Then they could talk about cooperation and membership and all the other details. The shuttle is approaching, Karen announced. 2 fighter escorts are with it. All 3 ships are armed, but their weapons are not charged. Let them dock, Susan ordered. I will meet them personally. Jake, you have command until I return. If anything goes wrong, follow the emergency plan. Understood, Jake said. He moved to sit in the command chair as Susan headed for the door. Susan walked through the corridors of her ship. Crew members stood straighter as she passed. They knew what was happening. They knew how important this was. She reached the docking bay and found the 10 Marines waiting in formation. They wore full combat armor and carried powerful weapons. They looked ready for war. Lieutenant Greg Palmer commanded the security team. He was a big man with steady eyes and a calm manner. He saluted Susan as she approached. We are ready, Commander. The shuttle will dock in 2 minutes. Whatever comes through that door, we will handle it. Susan nodded. Thank you, Greg. Remember, we are here to talk, not fight. But if they start something, finish it. Yes, ma'am. The docking clamps engaged with a loud thunk. The airlock cycled through its sequence. Susan took a deep breath and straightened her uniform. The door opened. 3 aliens stepped through. Susan had seen pictures and videos from the long-range observations, but seeing them in person was different. The first one was tall with a body like an insect. It had 4 eyes and wore purple robes. Behind it came a creature with green and gold scales, and another that almost looked human except for silver skin and completely black eyes. The insect-like being spoke. A device on its chest translated the words into English. I am Ambassador Velcara. I speak for the Galactic Council. You have caused a great deal of confusion today, Commander Blake. Susan met the alien's 4 eyes without fear. Then let me clear up that confusion. Humans are here. We are advanced. We are organized. And we are not going away. The sooner your council accepts that, the sooner we can all move forward. Ambassador Velcara looked at Susan Blake for a long moment. Its 4 eyes seemed to study every detail of her face and posture. The other 2 aliens stood quietly behind the ambassador, watching everything carefully. You speak with great confidence for someone who just arrived, the ambassador said. The translation device made its voice sound smooth and calm. Your species was listed as primitive. You should not have this technology. You should not be here. How did you achieve this? Susan gestured toward the corridor. Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more comfortable. I have a conference room prepared. We can talk there in private. Belcara made a clicking sound with its mandibles. Very well, lead the way. They walked through the ship. The aliens looked at everything with great interest. Susan noticed their eyes moving constantly, taking in the walls, the lights, the human crew members they passed. They were trying to learn as much as possible about human technology and capabilities. The conference room was simple but clean. A long table with chairs dominated the center of the room. Susan invited the aliens to sit down. They did, though each species seemed to have a slightly different way of using the chairs. Greg Palmer and 2 other Marines stood by the door, weapons ready but not aimed. Susan sat at the head of the table and looked directly at the ambassador. Let me be honest with you. We know that your council has been watching Earth for many years. You have been monitoring our radio signals and studying our culture. You classified us as a pre-contact civilization. You decided we were not ready to know about you yet. This is standard procedure, Belcara replied. We do not contact species until they reach certain technological and social levels. This protects both them and us. It prevents conflicts and misunderstandings. Susan nodded. I understand the reasoning. But here is what you did not know. 3 years ago, we detected one of your survey ships in our solar system. It was in the outer region, past the orbit of Neptune. Your stealth technology is impressive but not perfect. We found it. The 3 aliens became very still. The reptilian one leaned forward, its tongue flicking out briefly. That is not possible. Our stealth systems are the best in the galaxy. Susan smiled slightly. They are very good. But humans are persistent. We spent months tracking that ship. We studied its emissions, its energy signature, everything we could detect. We followed it as it mapped our system and collected data, and when it finally left, we knew exactly what to look for. You tracked our ship? Belcara said slowly. And then what? Then we began watching you, Susan said. We identified the direction your ship went when it left. We built better telescopes and sensors. We found your communications networks. We intercepted your data transmissions. We learned your languages. We studied your technology. For 3 years, we have been learning everything we could about the Galactic Council. The silver-skinned alien spoke for the first time. Its voice was musical even through the translator. You stole our technology. No, Susan said firmly. We observed and learned. There is a big difference. You came to our home without permission or announcement. You spied on us. We simply returned the favor, and we used what we learned to improve our own technology. Everything on this ship was built by human hands using human science. We did not steal. We adapted and innovated. Belcara's mandibles clicked rapidly. This is a serious development. The Council will need to know about this security breach. There will be investigations. Changes to our protocols, feel free to investigate, Susan replied. But while you do that, you also need to accept reality. Humans are here. We have faster than light travel. We have weapons and shields and everything else we need to operate in space. We are not going to sit quietly on our planet and wait for you to decide if we are ready. We have decided for ourselves. The reptilian advisor hissed softly. The Council will not accept this. There are rules, procedures. You cannot simply announce yourselves and demand recognition. Watch us, Susan said. Her voice was cold and hard. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of facts. Humanity exists. We are technologically advanced. We are organized under a single government. We want peaceful relations with the Council, but we will not be treated as inferiors or children. Belcara stood up suddenly. Its robe swirled around its insect body. You are either very brave or very foolish, Commander Blake. Perhaps you are both. Do you understand what you are risking? The Council has thousands of ships, hundreds of member worlds, military forces beyond your comprehension. You have 4 ships, 4. And you dare to make demands? Susan stood as well. She looked up at the tall alien without fear. 4 ships that you know about. And yes, I understand the risk. But I also understand something else. The Council does not want a war with a new species. You prefer peaceful integration. You prefer stability. A conflict with humanity would be costly and difficult even if you won. So I am offering you a better choice. Recognize us, talk to us, let us earn our place among the stars. Or try to force us back into isolation and deal with the consequences. The silver-skinned alien stood smoothly. Ambassador, perhaps we should return to the flagship. The Council needs to hear about this directly. Belcara nodded. Its 4 eyes never left Susan's face. Yes, we will report everything. Commander Blake, you have created a very complicated situation. The council will debate your status. This may take time, we can wait, Susan said. But not forever. We are willing to be patient, but we will not be ignored. You will hear from us soon, the ambassador said. Do not leave this location. Do not make any aggressive moves. If you do, the consequences will be severe. Understood, Susan replied. We will wait here. But remember, we are not afraid of you. We respect your power, but we do not fear it. The 3 aliens left the conference room. Greg Palmer and his Marines escorted them back to the docking bay. Susan waited until she heard the shuttle depart before she allowed herself to relax. She sat down heavily in one of the chairs and took a deep breath. Her communicator beeped. It was Jake from the bridge. Commander, the shuttle has returned to the flagship. The alien fleet is repositioning. They are forming a blockade pattern around us. Looks like they are settling in for a long wait. Susan activated her communicator. Any sign they are preparing to attack? Negative. Their weapons are charged but not locked on. They are just watching us. Good. Keep monitoring them. I am on my way back to the bridge. Susan walked back through the corridors. Crew members looked at her with questions in their eyes. She gave them confident nods and kept walking. They needed to see their commander strong and certain even when she felt neither. Back on the bridge, she reviewed the tactical situation. 42 alien ships surrounded the Defiance in a careful pattern. They had positioned themselves to cover all escape routes. It was a professional blockade, the kind that showed experience and discipline. Sophie, any interesting communications? Susan asked. Lots of chatter, Sophie replied. They are definitely surprised. I am picking up transmissions between the flagship and what I think is their home base. They keep using words that translate as impossible and unprecedented. I think we shocked them pretty badly. Susan allowed herself a small smile. Good. Let them be shocked. It means they will take us seriously. Jake turned from his console. Commander, I have been thinking. We showed them we are strong and confident. But we are also in a very exposed position. If they decide to attack, we will have a hard time fighting off 42 ships, even with the other 3 human ships helping. You're right, Susan agreed. But I do not think they will attack. Not yet, anyway. They are curious about us. They want to understand how we got this advance so quickly, and they will be cautious because they do not know what other surprises we might have. Do we have other surprises? Jake asked with a slight grin. A few, Susan said, but let us hope we do not need to reveal them. Our best strategy now is to wait and let them make the next move. They need to decide how to respond to us. That decision will tell us a lot about whether we can work with them or not. The hours passed slowly. The crew maintained their stations, monitoring the alien fleet for any changes. Susan reviewed intelligence reports about the Galactic Council, studying their history and politics. She needed to understand them if she was going to negotiate with them. The Council had existed for thousands of years. It had grown slowly, adding new member species one by one as they developed space travel. The Council prided itself on being peaceful and fair. It had rules about how new species were integrated. Usually the process took decades. New species had to prove they were mature enough to handle contact with other civilizations. But humans had skipped all those steps. They had forced their way onto the galactic stage without permission or preparation. Susan knew that many council members would be angry about this. They would see it as arrogant and dangerous. Some would want to punish humanity for breaking the rules. But Susan also knew that the council valued strength and capability. If humans could prove they were advanced and organized enough to be useful partners, the council might accept them despite the unusual circumstances. Everything depended on the next few days. Commander, Sophie called out, I am receiving a new transmission from the flagship. It is marked as high priority. Put it through, Susan ordered. The main view screen activated. Instead of Ambassador Velcara, Susan found herself looking at 18 hours passed before the council contacted them again. Susan had used the time to rest and plan. She gathered her senior officers in the conference room and discussed every possible scenario. They needed to be ready for whatever test the council had in mind. When Sophie finally announced the incoming transmission, Susan was on the bridge. She smoothed her uniform and nodded for the communication to be put through. High Chancellor Cretan appeared on the view screen. Behind the crystalline leader, Susan could see a massive chamber filled with representatives from many different species. This was the full Galactic Council, assembled to witness what would happen next. "Commander Blake," the Chancellor began, "the Council has debated your situation extensively. We have examined your capabilities and your intentions. We have concluded that humanity has advanced remarkably fast. Too fast, some would say. But you are here and we must deal with that reality." Susan stood at attention. "We are ready to hear your decision, High Chancellor." "We have a situation that requires immediate attention," Cretan said. "In the Epsilon sector, a group of criminals have taken control of a civilian space station. They are holding 3,000 innocent beings hostage. They are demanding political changes and threatening to kill the hostages if we do not agree to their terms." Susan felt her stomach tighten. This was serious. A hostage situation with thousands of lives at risk. She could see where this was going. "The criminals are well armed and well trained," the Chancellor continued. "They have rigged the station's reactor to explode if we attempt a conventional rescue. Our military forces cannot act without risking the lives of everyone on that station. This situation has been ongoing for 2 weeks and time is running out. What do you want us to do?" Susan asked, though she already knew the answer. "This is your test," Cretan said. "You claim to be capable and advanced. You claim to deserve a place in the Council. Prove it. Rescue those hostages. Capture the criminals alive if possible. Prevent any casualties. You have 72 hours, and if we succeed," Susan asked, "then humanity will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. You will have a voice in our deliberations and access to our resources and technology. You will be recognized as equals. And if we fail, then you will leave Council space immediately and remain in your home system until we determine you are truly ready for contact. This is not negotiable. These are the terms. Do you accept?" Susan looked at her crew. Jake was already pulling up information about the Epsilon sector on his console. Karen was plotting jump coordinates. Sophie was preparing to receive data from the Council. They were ready to move. They trusted her to make the right decision. "We accept," Susan said firmly. "Send us all the information you have about the station and the hostage situation. We will take care of it." Cretan's crystalline body seemed to shimmer. "Very well. The data is being transmitted now. The entire Council will be monitoring your progress. Do not disappoint us, Commander." The transmission ended. Susan immediately turned to her crew. "Jake, analyze that data as fast as you can. I need to know everything about that station. Karen, calculate our best approach. Sophie, open a secure channel to the Valiant, the Resolute, and the Guardian. I want all 4 captains on a call in 5 minutes." "Working on it," Jake said. His fingers flew across his console as data streamed in from the Council. "This is a big station, civilian habitat designed to house about 5,000 people. Current population is 3,000 because of maintenance work that was scheduled. The criminals took over the control center and the reactor room. They have control of life support and the power systems." "How many criminals?" Susan asked. "Council intelligence estimates 40 to 50. They are from a species called the Vortons. Big, strong, heavily armed. They are political extremists who want changes to how their homeworld is governed." "Can we bypass the reactor failsafe?" Susan asked. Jake shook his head. "Not remotely. Someone would need to physically access the control panel in the reactor room, and the Vortans have guards there constantly." Susan studied the data flowing across the screens. This was going to be difficult. The kind of operation that required perfect timing and execution. One mistake could kill thousands of innocent people. "Commander, all 4 captains are on the line," Sophie announced. Susan activated the communication system. "Listen up, everyone. We have been given a mission by the Galactic Council. It is a test to prove we are worthy of membership. We need to rescue 3,000 hostages from a space station without causing any casualties. We have 72 hours. Captain Maria Rodriguez of the Valiant spoke first. What are we dealing with? 40 to 50 armed hostiles. They control the station's vital systems. They have rigged the reactor to explode if we try a standard assault. We need to be creative." Captain Danny Chen of the Resolute whistled softly. "That is a tough situation. What is the plan?" "We are going to use stealth and precision," Susan said. "The Vortans are expecting a big military response. They are watching for ships and shuttles. They are not expecting Marines to infiltrate through maintenance tunnels. Maria, I need your best teams ready for a covert insertion. We go in quiet, secure the hostages, then take down the reactor failsafe before the Vortans know what is happening." "My people can do that," Maria confirmed. "How many teams do you want?" 4 teams of 10 Marines each, full stealth gear, non-lethal weapons if possible. The Council wants the criminals captured alive. Captain Lisa Park of the Guardian spoke up. "What do you need from the rest of us?" "Backup," Susan replied. "Position yourselves around the station, but stay far enough away that the Vortans do not feel threatened. If things go wrong, we might need firepower or a quick evacuation. Also, I want Sophie coordinating all communications. We need perfect information flow during this operation." "Understood," the captains said together. Susan looked at the tactical display again. "All right, Karen. How long to reach the Epsilon sector?" 3 hours at maximum jump speed, Karen replied. "Then we leave in 30 minutes. That gives everyone time to prepare. Jake, I want detailed maps of every corridor and access point in that station. Sophie, monitor all communications to and from the station. I want to know what the Vortans are saying and thinking. Everyone else, get ready. This is going to be dangerous, but we can do this." The crew moved with purpose. Everyone had a job. Everyone knew what was at stake. Susan watched them work and felt pride. These were good people doing difficult things because it mattered. She went to her quarters and sat down at her desk. She pulled up information about the Vortans. They were a warrior species, proud and stubborn. They believed in direct action and did not compromise easily. The ones holding the station were extremists, true, but they believed they were fighting for their people. Susan did not enjoy what she was about to do. These Vortans would likely be hurt or captured. Some might die if things went badly. But 3,000 innocent people were depending on her. She had to put them first. 30 minutes later, the 4 human warships jumped into hyperspace. They moved through the impossible space between stars, covering light years and hours. Susan spent the travel time reviewing the plans with her officers. They discussed every possible problem and solution. They practiced the timing. They memorized the station layout. When they emerged near the Epsilon sector, the station was waiting. It hung in space like a broken wheel. Its lights flickered irregularly. The Vortans had cut power to some sections to save energy and maintain control. The 4 human ships engaged their stealth systems and drifted closer. They positioned themselves in the station's sensor blind spots. The Vortans had good sensors, but they were not looking for stealth ships. They were focused on preventing Council military vessels from approaching. Jake studied the tactical display. "I have identified 4 entry points where we can cut through the hull without being detected. All of them lead into maintenance areas that appear to be unguarded." "Good," Susan said. "Launch the dropships. Silent running. No engine emissions. Just drift in on momentum." 4 small ships detached from the Valiant. They were painted matte black and designed to be almost invisible against space. Inside each dropship, 10 Marines sat in full combat armor. They carried weapons that could fire tranquilizer darts instead of bullets. Their orders were clear. Rescue the hostages. Capture the Vortans. Avoid casualties. Lieutenant Greg Palmer led the first team. He watched through his helmet display as the dropship drifted toward the station. No alarms, no response from the Vortans. They were completely unaware. The dropship touched the hull gently. Magnetic clamps engaged, holding it in place. Greg activated his cutting laser and began slicing through the outer plating. The metal glowed and melted away in a perfect circle. Within seconds, they had an opening large enough to enter. "Team 1 is inside," Greg reported over the tactical network. "No resistance. Moving to first objective." On the Defiance bridge, Susan watched through multiple camera feeds. She could see all 4 teams moving through the maintenance corridors. They moved like ghosts, silent and precise. Years of training showed in every step. "Sophie, status on Vortan communications?" Susan asked. "Nothing unusual. They are still watching the main approaches. They have no idea we are inside. Keep monitoring. The moment they realize something is wrong, I want to know." Greg's team reached the first group of hostages. They were being held in. Greg Palmer and his team moved through the maintenance corridors toward the reactor room. Every step had to be perfect. One wrong move and the entire station would explode. On the Defiance, Susan watched multiple screens showing different camera angles from the Marine helmets. Her hands gripped the armrests of her chair. This was the moment everything could go wrong. Jake studied his tactical display. The reactor room has 15 Vortans inside. They are running constant sensor sweeps. The one with the dead man switch is standing near the main control panel. If he releases that switch or if his heartbeat stops, the reactor goes critical. How close can Greg get without being detected? Susan asked. There is an access shaft that runs along the outer wall. He can get within 10 meters. But the moment he breaches that wall, Everyone in the reactor room will know. Susan made her decision. Sophie, prepare to jam all communications on my signal. Make sure the Vortans cannot talk to each other or send any messages. Jake, I need targeting data on every hostile in that room. The moment Greg breaches, I want to know exactly where each Vortan is standing. Working on it, Jake replied. Greg reached the access shaft. It was narrow and dark. He crawled inside, moving slowly to avoid making noise. His helmet display showed a thermal image of the reactor room beyond the wall. He could see the heat signatures of the 15 Vortans inside. In position, he whispered over the tactical network. Susan took a deep breath. This was it. No turning back now. Sophie, jam all signals on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Across the station, every communication channel went silent. The Vortans in the reactor room immediately noticed. They started shouting at each other, trying to figure out what was happening. The one with the dead man switch raised his hand, preparing to activate it. Now, Susan ordered. Greg placed a small explosive charge on the wall and triggered it. The explosion was controlled but loud. It tore a hole through the metal, and Greg and his team poured through before the dust settled. The Vortans spun around in surprise. But the human Marines were faster. Tranquilizer darts flew through the air with deadly accuracy. The first 5 Vortans fell within seconds. The others tried to raise their weapons, but more darts found their marks. The Vortan with the dead man switch was the priority target. 3 Marines aimed at him simultaneously. He started to press the button, but a dart hit him in the throat. His eyes went wide. His finger froze on the button. Then the tranquilizer took effect and he collapsed, the switch falling from his hand. Greg dove forward and caught the switch before it hit the floor. His heart pounded in his chest. If the switch had hit the ground, the failsafe would have activated. The entire station would have exploded. Reactor secured, Greg reported. His voice was steady despite the close call. All hostiles down, no casualties. On the Defiance bridge, the entire crew let out a collective breath. Susan felt her shoulders relax for the first time in hours. Outstanding work, Greg, she said. Disable that failsafe and secure the reactor. Everyone else, status report, Team 2 reporting. We have secured the command center. No resistance. All systems under our control, Team 3 here. Final group of hostages evacuated. All civilians are safe and being transferred to the dropships. Team 4 has secured the docking bay. No Vortan reinforcements can arrive. Susan smiled. She could not help it. They had done it. Against all odds, they had rescued 3,000 hostages without a single casualty. The Vortans were all captured alive. The station was secure. All teams begin withdrawal, she ordered. Bring all prisoners with you. Let us get out of here before anyone has second thoughts. The Marines moved efficiently. They gathered the unconscious Vortans and carried them to the dropships. The hostages were already being transferred to the human warships, where medical teams waited to check them for injuries or trauma. Within an hour, the last Marine had left the station. The dropships returned to their ships and the 4 human warships moved away from the station. Susan sent a message to the council informing them that the mission was complete. The response came quickly. High Chancellor Cretan appeared on the view screen, its crystalline form shimmering with what might have been approval. Commander Blake, the Chancellor said, "We have been monitoring your operation. Your performance was exceptional. 3,000 hostages rescued without a single death, 53 criminals captured alive. The station's reactor secured and stabilized. The Council is impressed. We did what was necessary," Susan replied. "Nothing more, nothing less. You did more than necessary," Cretan said. "You demonstrated capability, restraint, and compassion. These are the qualities we look for in Council members. The Council will now deliberate on your status. We will contact you soon with our decision." The transmission ended. Susan looked at her crew. They looked tired but satisfied. They had proven themselves. Now they could only wait for the Council's verdict. The waiting was difficult. 6 hours passed with no word from the Council. Susan spent the time reviewing the mission reports and checking on the rescued hostages. They came from dozens of different species. Many of them asked to thank the human Marines personally. Susan arranged for them to meet, and she watched as aliens and humans shook hands and exchanged words of gratitude. One elderly alien, who looked like a walking tree with blue bark, approached Susan. Its translator rendered its words in English. "You saved my daughter today. She was on that station. I want you to know that not all Council members doubted you. Some of us knew humanity was special from the moment we discovered your world. Susan felt emotion rise in her throat. Thank you. That means a great deal to us. The tree-like being placed a branch hand on her shoulder. The galaxy needs species like yours. We have become comfortable, perhaps too comfortable. You bring energy and innovation. Do not let the old voices make you doubt yourselves. Finally, after what felt like days, Sophie announced an incoming transmission from the Council flagship. Susan returned to the bridge and prepared herself for whatever came next. The view screen showed the Council chamber. It was packed with representatives from hundreds of species. High Chancellor Cretion stood at the center, with Ambassador Velcara beside it. Commander Blake, the Chancellor began. The Council has deliberated extensively on the matter of humanity's status. There was much debate. Some members argued that your rapid advancement is dangerous. They fear what your species might do with advanced technology. Others pointed to your successful rescue operation as proof that you are ready to join the galactic community. Susan stood silently, waiting for the verdict. Her crew gathered behind her, all of them tense. After careful consideration, Cretion continued. The Council has reached a decision. By a vote of 642 in favor, 321 against and 73 abstaining, we grant humanity provisional membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in noise. Some species cheered, others protested, but the decision had been made. Susan felt a wave of relief and pride wash over her. Provisional membership means you will have one representative on the Council, the Chancellor explained. You will have access to Council resources, technology, and trade networks. You will participate in Council decisions. However, you will be monitored closely for the next 5 years. If you prove that you can work cooperatively with other species, your membership will become permanent. If you cause problems or violate Council laws, your membership will be revoked. Susan stepped forward. On behalf of all humanity, I accept these terms. We will prove worthy of the trust you have placed in us. We will work hard to be good neighbors and partners. Thank you for this opportunity. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Commander Blake, Cretion said. May this be the beginning of a long and productive relationship. The transmission ended. For a moment, the Defiance Bridge was silent. Then someone started clapping. Soon everyone was celebrating. They had done it. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. Susan let herself smile, really smile for the first time in days. She thought about Earth so far away. Soon everyone back home would know what had happened here. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had friends now. Allies. A future that stretched beyond a single planet. But even as she celebrated with her crew, Susan knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges. There would be species who resented humanity's rapid rise. There would be conflicts and difficulties. The easy part was over. Now came the hard work of proving they deserved to be here. Ambassador Velcara contacted the Defiance a few hours later. Susan met with the insect-like diplomat via video call. I must admit, Commander, the ambassador said, I did not think you would succeed. The hostage situation was very difficult. Many experienced Council military forces had examined it and concluded it was nearly impossible to rescue everyone safely. We had some advantages, Susan replied. The Vortans were expecting a large military response. They were watching for ships and conventional assault teams. They were not prepared for stealth infiltration through maintenance access points. Your tactics were innovative, Velcara agreed. That is something humanity brings to the Council. Fresh perspectives. New approaches to old problems. I look forward to working with you in the future. As do I, Ambassador, Susan said. There is something else you should know, Velcara continued. The vote was closer than the Chancellor. The journey to Council Station Prime took 3 days, just as Karen had said. Susan used the time to prepare herself and her crew for what came next. They would be representing all of humanity at the formal membership ceremony. Every word, every action, every gesture would be watched and judged by hundreds of alien species. The station appeared in their view screen as they emerged from their final jump. Susan had seen pictures and video, but nothing prepared her for the reality. Council Station Prime was enormous, easily 50 times larger than any space station humans had built. It gleamed like a small moon, its surface covered with docking ports, sensor arrays, and viewing platforms. Ships of every imaginable design surrounded the station. Some were sleek and elegant, others looked like flying rocks. Some used traditional engines, others seemed to float on fields of pure energy. This was the heart of galactic civilization, and humanity was about to become part of it. "We are being hailed by station control," Sophie announced. "They are assigning us docking ports. Accept their guidance," Susan ordered. "Let us make a good impression." The 4 human warships moved into their assigned positions. They docked smoothly, their systems interfacing with the station's network. Susan gathered her senior officers and prepared to disembark. "Remember," she told them, "we are guests here. Be polite, be professional, but also be proud. We earned our place. Do not let anyone make you feel otherwise." They walked through the airlock onto the station. Susan had expected something alien and strange, but the main corridor looked almost comfortable. The lighting was adjusted to a spectrum similar to Earth's sun. The gravity felt normal. Even the air smelled clean and fresh. A delegation waited for them. Ambassador Velcara stood at the front, along with representatives from a dozen other species. The ambassador's mandibles clicked in greeting. "Welcome to Council Station Prime, Commander Blake. I will escort you to your quarters. The formal ceremony will take place tomorrow. Tonight, there will be a reception where you can meet other council members informally." "Thank you, Ambassador," Susan replied. "We are honored to be here." They walked through the station's corridors. Aliens of every description passed by, some stopping to stare at the humans. Susan noticed that many looked curious rather than hostile. Good. Curiosity could lead to friendship. The quarters assigned to the human delegation were spacious and well-appointed. Each officer had a private room with a bed designed for human proportions. There was a common area for meetings and meals. Velcara explained that the station's computer had studied human needs and adjusted everything accordingly. "The reception will begin in 4 hours," the ambassador said. "Dress as you see fit. Many species will wear ceremonial clothing. Others prefer to go as they are. There are no strict rules." After the ambassador left, Susan gathered her officers again. "We need to make connections tonight. Learn who our friends are and who might oppose us. Be friendly but careful. Do not promise anything without consulting me first." 4 hours later, Susan stood before a mirror in her dress uniform. She looked at herself critically. The uniform was sharp and clean, with insignia that marked her rank and achievements. She wore it with pride. This uniform represented humanity, and she would honor it. The reception was held in a massive hall with a transparent ceiling that showed the stars beyond. Hundreds of beings mingled and talked. The noise was overwhelming at first, a mixture of different languages and sounds, but Susan's translator worked perfectly, rendering everything into English. She moved through the crowd with her officers. Many aliens approached them with questions. What was Earth like? How did humans develop faster than light travel so quickly? What did humans eat? Some questions were serious, others seemed merely curious. Susan answered patiently, explaining human culture and history. She found that many species were genuinely interested in learning about humanity. They saw humans as something new and exciting in a galaxy that had become somewhat predictable. But not everyone was friendly. One being, a tall creature with scales like armor, approached Susan with a stern expression. Its translator rendered its words in a harsh tone. "Your species advances too quickly. You bypass the natural stages of development. This is dangerous. Species that rise too fast often fall just as quickly." Susan met its gaze calmly. "Perhaps, but we prefer to take risks rather than wait for others to decide our fate. We believe in our ability to handle the challenges we face." The armored being snorted. "Arrogance. That is what your species demonstrates." Arrogance and pride. These qualities lead to disaster. Before Susan could respond, another voice interrupted. "That is not arrogance. That is confidence. There is a difference." Susan turned to see the tree-like being she had met earlier, the one whose daughter had been rescued from the station. It stood beside her now, its blue bark gleaming in the light. "The council needs fresh energy," the tree being said to the armored creature. "We have become stagnant, too comfortable in our ways. Humanity offers us a chance to remember what it means to strive and grow." The armored being made a dismissive gesture and walked away. The tree being turned to Susan and extended a branch hand. "I am Elder Treehorn of the Sylvan people. Do not let beings like that discourage you. Many of us are glad you are here." "Thank you," Susan said, shaking the offered hand. "It is good to know we have friends." You will need them, Elder Treehorn said quietly. The coming years will be difficult, but I believe humanity will succeed. You have something special, a drive to improve and adapt. Do not lose that quality. The reception continued for several hours. Susan met dozens of species, each with their own cultures and perspectives. Some were warm and welcoming, others were cold and distant, but all of them were curious about humanity. The formal ceremony took place the next day in the council's main chamber. Susan had never seen anything so impressive. The chamber was a perfect sphere, with seats arranged in rings that rose up on all sides. At the center floated a platform where speakers could address the entire assembly. Thousands of beings filled the seats, representatives from hundreds of worlds. This was the Galactic Council in its full glory, and Susan was about to stand before all of them. High Chancellor Krishen stood at the center platform. Its crystalline form caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the chamber. When it spoke, its voice was amplified to reach every ear. We gather today to welcome a new species to our community. The humans of planet Earth have demonstrated the qualities we value in council members. They have shown technological capability, strategic thinking, and compassion for other beings. Though their arrival was unconventional, we have judged them worthy of membership. The Chancellor gestured to Susan. Commander Susan Blake, please come forward. Susan walked to the center platform. It rose beneath her feet, lifting her up to the Chancellor's level. She looked out at thousands of alien faces watching her. Her heart pounded, but she kept her expression calm and confident. Commander Blake, do you accept the responsibilities of council membership? Will you work for the common good of all species? Will you uphold council laws and respect the rights of all beings? Susan spoke clearly, her voice carrying through the chamber. I accept these responsibilities on behalf of all humanity. We will work to be good members of this council. We will respect the laws and customs that have served the galaxy for so long. We will contribute our knowledge and efforts to help all species thrive, and we will learn from those who have walked this path before us. The Chancellor raised its crystalline arms. Then, by the authority vested in me by the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity as our newest member. May this be the beginning of a long and prosperous relationship. The chamber erupted in sound. Some species clapped, others made whistling noises. Still others thumped appendages against their seats. It was not universal approval, but it was acceptance. Humanity had its place now. After the ceremony, Susan met with various council leaders. They explained the systems and procedures she would need to learn. There were committees and working groups covering everything from trade agreements to military cooperation to scientific research. Humanity would have a voice in all of these areas, but Susan also learned about the challenges ahead. The council was not always united. Different species had different interests and priorities. Sometimes these conflicts led to diplomatic tensions. Occasionally, they led to something worse. Humanity would need to navigate these complex relationships carefully. They would need to build alliances and avoid making enemies. They would need to prove they could be trusted with the responsibilities of council membership. Late that night, Susan stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. The 4 human warships were docked nearby, their lights blinking steadily. Soon more ships would come from Earth. Engineers, diplomats, scientists, and traders. Humanity was about to expand into the galaxy in ways people had only dreamed about. Jake found her there. He stood beside her silently for a moment, then spoke. Hard to believe this is real. A week ago, we were just arriving in council space, hoping they would not shoot us. Now we are members. It is real, Susan said. And it is just the beginning. We have opened a door, but now we have to walk through it. The hard work starts now. Do you think we can do it? Jake asked. Can humanity really handle being part of something this big? Susan thought about that question.